From WCPO 9, it's a new day.
As the seasons change and the holidays are on the way, we always want to check in with our mental health. And today we have our trusted mental health therapist, Terri Wilkinson-Hill, here to help us move mental health from being a stigma to enough is enough. Welcome back, Terri.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, how important is it for people to check in with their mental health? And how can people check in with their mental health?
It's important for people to change their thought process about mental health. People disassociate mental health from their being. Our mental health is everything that we are. It's not just something you pick up and put down, you know, when you see an article or when somebody dies. Taking care of your every functioning, your every being, how you move throughout the day, how your emotions are affecting your behaviors and things like that. It's just something important for you to do on a regular basis, to be aware.
So why do you think there's a negative stigma when it comes to dealing with mental health?
I think the negative stigma comes from because traditionally, even back to biblical times, if somebody was crazy or talking out of their mind or something like that, the stigma is attached to something's wrong, they need to go to the crazy house or things like that. And people usually are thinking about mental illness rather than the overall mental health. Mental illness is can be a cause and effect situation. If you're not taking care of your mental health, then it can lead to a mental illness. And sometimes mental illness is just a genetic factor as well.
So how can people deal with some of the things, especially like some of your tips for dealing with mental health, especially in the Black community? What can we do to have, say, a healthy mental health?
I guess the very first thing is just being self-aware. Everything is about being aware and being aware that something might not be right, and then being okay to figuring out how to address that. Again, because especially in the Black community, you know, going telling people our business and things like that is not necessarily something that generationally and culturally that we're always open to do. And then we have to understand that admitting things or acknowledging things does not always mean that it's going to continue our oppression in society. It's okay to get help.
Now, you do a lot of different therapies and group therapies with people. How can families come together and deal with some of the mental health issues, especially with the holidays coming up?
Again, everything starts with being aware and being willing to want to do something different, and understanding that people are not just making stuff up. People don't just have to get over something. People don't just have to deal with it. It's life. We're living in a time where we can seek help and assistance and guidance to help us get through those difficult things that life brings us.
Now, you have a column that reoccurs in the Cincinnati Herald. Tell me about your column.
So in my column, something funny about me is I write when I'm inspired. So I write things that are mental health based, but also in a realistic fashion. One of my articles was about Fathers Matter, which is a platform of mine. My last article was about Fantasia Barrino. She came to the Cincinnati Music Festival, and I addressed her struggles with mental illness and things like that. So I just try to do a relatable piece about mental health and educating, where it's not so like we're sitting in the classroom talking about it.
So you are out in the community, out and about in the city, doing different fairs, different things going on. What is one of the best things that you like to do to help people? Is it small group therapy? Is it children? What are the things that you favor the most?
Group and facilitating. That's my jam. I love group work. And I am trying to move more into a space to where I'm focusing on adults as well as the youth. Adolescents is most of the time my target population and who people connect me with. But I also address adults as well. And so understanding that in me having to address the adolescent, I got to address the parents.
Right.
I got to address the people that's working with them, that's teaching them, and things like that. So I'm trying to, open the community up to understanding that I do more than adolescent. And then my biggest thing is when I went to speak to the FBI, and that was important because I'm glad that our community workers, our service workers, our first responders are having experiences where they're able to get help and to learn things. So.
Now you have a successful business, Bold Visions. Tell me about your inspiration for starting Bold Visions and where you were headed.
Okay, so I started my business. My uncle, Jim Klingman, the founder of the African American Chamber of Commerce, he had talked to me my whole life about entrepreneurship, business, and it wasn't popular when he was talking about it as a kid, And so when I finally decided to do it, he named my business, and he was telling me that I was wasting my degree. Because I only thought at that particular time when I graduated from grad school, I had to be a therapist. But I knew that I wanted to do more. And so he initially pushed me, opened me up to doing different things. And I wrote my first book in 2016. And that opened a lot of doors for me to get different engagements. And now I have 4 more books, and I've done a lot more things. So.
That is great, Terri. And we want to know, I know people out there, our viewers, how can we reach you on social media? And and I know you have a website.
Bold Visions Consulting, LLC on Facebook, Visions Bold on Instagram, and my website is www.boldvisionsconsulting.com.
All right. Well, Terri, it is always good to have you here. Thanks again. And of course, you can come back at any time.
Thank you.